Welcome to History Through Games. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. With me is Scout Blum. Here to play a game, and we're going to get more into the game in a little bit, but Scout, we've done a few episodes of this, and all of the games we've done so far have tied into that history through games. There's a connection to history because this whole thing started because of a class that you teach that teaches history through games, and we've discussed that in the past, but we're shifting ever so slightly from that path in what we're working on today, because this topic is not about history, but it is related to something that was birthed from the History Through Games class, and that is the new Game Design and Development minor. That's right?
Absolutely, yeah, right. So this is a game called Adopt Me, and this is one that I've designed. Aaron and I thought it would be interesting to kind of show everybody the process that the game design minors are going to be going through when they're doing their own games. And, you know, as a professor, I've always thought it's important that I be doing, you know, the same things that the students are doing to make sure that I know and understand the process. So this is a game that I've designed through my company, Mockingbird Games.
And part of that is we talk about the games, and on the last show we had one of your students here talking about games that he was developing, which led us to this whole inspiration of seeing your game in action here. And this is where what we're going to play here today is one of those examples you mentioned of development, where it comes from here to here, you know, putting it down. And we'll talk more about the development and what went into it as we play. But first off, just let's talk about the game itself, because Adopt Me, we're seeing animals, we see the word shelter on the board. Obviously, this is a game that has to do with adopting animals. But talk about the type of game that we're going to be playing and how all this is going to work out for us.
Okay. Exactly. So what we've got are stray animals. They're over here, and there's a big deck of cards of them. And there's stray animals out here in the wild, and our goal is to bring them into a shelter and then to adopt them out into homes. And here are the homes. The animals are all different. They're individual different animals, and the homes are all individual and different. They have sort of different quirks and characteristics. But our job is to try to get 8 animals placed in homes by the end of 10 rounds.
All right.
The game is what's called a cooperative worker placement game, which basically means, and we've done a couple of these on the shows before, they're one of my favorite kinds of games. There aren't very many cooperative worker placement games. Most of them are competitive, but Aaron and I will be working together because I felt that that fit in more with the theme of a shelter and how all the volunteers kind of work together. So we will be working together to try to get all of these animals taken care of and put into homes.
And you mentioned here we're looking at the top, we have 10 rounds to do this, but there's also some detrimental things that can keep us from playing all the way through to 10 rounds. Explain this real quick before we go here.
So one of the things about worker placement games often is there are lots of ways to lose, or rather cooperative games, there are lots of ways to lose. So in this game, if we don't get to the right total of animals, we don't win. We also, though, have to be very aware of keeping the shelter funded and taking care of the animals, so making sure that there's food for the animals. So if any of that gets down to 0, then that can cause
which is a real-world application, because this is something that happens all the time. And when we'll talk about this later, but this is another element of this game, is that the proceeds from this game is helping actual shelters with those elements right there in the real world.
So one of the things that I want this to do, and you know, this has been really important to me as I've made this company that I have, and that games be for good. And so this game, once it's out in the real world, all of the profits are going to benefit shelters. So I've been a volunteer with the Montgomery shelter for a long time, and they just do such amazing work, and it's difficult and emotional, but you know, they are just so amazing. And then there's the Troy Animal Rescue Project here, and they're just fantastic too. So you know, I try to support them as much as I can, but this is something that's kind of close to my heart. So
well, and as we'll see in a little bit, because 2 of these adoptees, 2 of them we have on the board right here are your dogs.
Yes.
And so they're dogs that you adopted, and that's another element of this, and is that a lot of these are real world stories.
Right. So one of the things with these animals is, right now for the prototype they're not, but I want all of these animals to be real animals and have real stories of adoption behind them. So That's real important to me. So we have a website address that we can go to if you have adopted an animal and would like to see your animal in a card as a part of the game.
You can go to your mockingbirdsgames.com, so mockingbird/games.com, and then they'll have an opportunity to put in their submissions for their adoption stories, and their animal could be featured in the game. Well, let's get to it. We'll talk more about some of the, as we do, we'll break off and talk about some things, but how are we getting started here? What are we doing here?
Okay, so we've got the setup here, and I'll kind of go through this as we go through the game. But the first thing that we want to do is we want to pick roles.
All right.
And you can either pick roles randomly, or you can go through and pick them out, but we'll just pick randomly. So
let's pick randomly. So I'm going to go pick a card, any card. Okay, let's see. Oh, have I got a card there?
There's one of them.
There's that one. Oh, there's two there.
Two.
All right, there we go.
And I will pick this one.
I am a staff member.
I am a staff member as well. So we also need to take those cheat sheets.
All right.
Those guys over there.
So
take the cheat sheet of your color. You're yellow.
I'm
and
yellow.
I am orange.
You are orange, so I will hand you
We are rather
orange right
color
now.
coordinated.
There we go. We'll do that there.
Okay. So each one of the roles has their own special power. So I am a volunteer coordinator, and my power is, as volunteer coordinator, you gain 1 extra worker on even numbered rounds only. So what's your power?
My power is I can exercise or train 1 animal completely with 1 action per round.
Okay,
so
that's pretty valuable too. Okay, so now we need to take your meeples. So take your yellow meeples, and I need my orange meeples.
You need your orange. All right, so
Thank
there's
you.
your orange. I got my yellow.
Very good. Okay, so on each turn, you've got these actions available. On each turn, we have 3 meeples each to do things. So we're going to be working together, though, so we can kind of plan. And there's not really turns in this game because it's cooperative. We can sort of say, oh, okay, we need to build more of the shelter, or we need to bring an animal in. We decide and kind of talk amongst ourselves as to what we think is most important. One thing, because it's just a 2-player game, we get to add an additional room to the shelter before we get started, just because it's a little harder with 2 players. And before we get started too, let me just show you on the cards. Okay. So we have a picture now. Remember, all of these are these are real animals. This is a picture of the animal before or right when they were adopted.
Okay.
And then they have some numbers going down. So this number right here is their intake number. And that means how many workers you have to place to bring it into the shelter.
Okay.
That can be higher, like if an animal was, animal control had to go get it or something. They had to, do a legal case or something like that to get the animal. The second number is their vet care, so what kind of vet care they need when they come in. And the last one is sort of exercise and behavior training that they need. Once they've gotten all of that stuff done, then they can be placed in a home. And when you do that, and there's some information down here about the animal. Once you do that, then you see happy animal.
Happy animal in the back right there.
This is our puppy Spud.
There you go. Let's see that animal. There we go. Oop, let's see. Get it on the camera. There it is. Once it's happy and in a home,
that's what
it looks like right there. Flip it over.
That's what he looks like.
So we're going to put it back to poor Spud before it's been adopted.
Well,
so.
He looked kind of cute.
He did. He is a little baby fuzzball there.
He was 10 days old.
Oh man. All right. So what do we do first? So what are we looking at?
Okay. So we have these different rooms in the shelter. So we have, this is the exercise yards where the animals get their exercise. These are the kennels, which is where you keep your animals, and here are the vet clinics. So the exercise yards and the vet clinics, you can just put 2 workers in, and the kennels can just have 2 animals of the same species in, but we get to pick one of those to start off with.
All right, well, you are the expert, so I'm going to, you tell me what would be the best option in this game for us to be able to put something down.
I think that we should probably start off with a kennel.
All right.
Because then we have places to put people when they come in. Oops. Poor boards are going to be going all over the place. Okay, so now we get to think about what we want to do. Okay, if we want to bring in another hex, if we want to start building at the beginning, we need to put in 3 workers.
Okay.
So we can go ahead and if we wanted to put 3 workers and add another room. If we wanted to intake an animal, we have to just look at that top number. And so say we wanted to intake Spud, then I would put 1 meeple on intake and we would bring Spuddy
Okay.
in.
Well, we can
put
do
him
that
on.
if you want to. So we'll go ahead and put Spud
Okay.
there. So we'll get him closer
So
to a home. So
once you've done that, though, you have to make sure you're keeping track of what you've done for the animal, and so you put a little green dice next to them, equal to the number of workers. So we put
All right.
one worker. He had one intake, and so that's taken care of now.
All right. Well, then, so the next we've got to figure out what we're going to do next on here. So do we want to focus on animals? Do we want to focus on shelter construction? So
Well, what we need to think about is when we get the animals in, we have to have these other rooms.
Okay.
So it might be a good idea for us to build out some rooms pretty soon.
So in order to build a room, we would have to add three workers.
So I can put 2, and you can put 1.
I could put 1. So right there.
Which one do you want, a vet or a?
Well, how about that? We'll need to do some vet care, right?
Yes.
So why don't we go ahead and put a vet in there? So that's going to have to be something that, in order so that we can make sure that we've got a dog adopted, we can do that.
Okay. So now you've got 2 more left. So we could intake another animal. We've only got one kennel, so that means we would have to do another dog. I think we only have dogs here.
All
nope,
dogs?
Cobalt has a cat.
Okay, there's a cat.
So we could intake another dog rather. We could do Spud's vet care if you wanted to.
All right, if we do the Spud's vet care, that means that he's one step closer to going to a home. Is that right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
all right.
So we have to have all of those taken care of before we can place him in a home.
Well, how about this? How about we go and we'll do the vet care so we can see the process of maybe getting one into a home almost right away. How about that?
Okay, cool.
So I'm going to put 2 there for vet care.
Okay, so to take care of that, we're going to take one of the little green die, we're going to put it on the 2.
All right.
And put the 2 there. So now we know we've taken care of Spuddy's his intake and his vet care. Now Spud also has this word up here, and we're just sort of ignoring this for the time being.
Okay.
It has foster up here. So some animals, when they come into a shelter, they're too young or they're too frail to be in the shelter itself, which often can be kind of, there's sickness and, stress. So if they have a foster, then that's a different situation. We will wait until the next animal, just so that things are not quite so popular at the beginning. Okay, so now we have put all of our meeples out, so that means it's the end of round 1. Okay, so at the end of the round, this is what happens. We're going to move the round marker up 1. We're going to move the funding and the daily care down 1 because we have used those up.
All right.
We can, if we want to, as part of a turn, we can put meeples on the admin hex, and that can bump that up.
Okay.
However much we want to do that. We haven't made any placements yet. We need to replace the animal card we haven't done any houses yet, so we don't have to worry about that. And then we need to turn over an event card.
An event card. So I will do that. Turn over an event card, and it says, a local TV station promotes the shelter, complete vet care for 1 animal in the intake area.
Okay, so we've already done that for Spud, so that doesn't help us too much, but it also doesn't hurt us, so that's good. So there are some good and some bad
Some
events.
bad ones. So,
right.
All right, so I take it that we'll put that there and discard that, I guess, at this point.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, and so that's the end of the round, and now we're just going to take back all of our workers.
So where do the talents play into this? We've got all these talents in here.
Yeah, you can use those whenever you want to.
Okay.
So mine is I can gain an extra worker on even numbered rounds. So I can gain an extra worker. In fact, I will take one of those gray workers right now so that I can use them on the next.
And it says I can exercise or train 1 animal completely with 1 action per round.
Right. So that's really helpful. Like say with Roscoe here, he needs 3. So instead of us using 3 workers, with your power, we just have to use 1.
And so, but we would need to get the training facility up there next. So that's something we're waiting on to get Spud out there because he would need to be trained next.
Exactly. We need to buy in.
So probably one of the next things we need to look at is getting a training area in for the shelter. So we go to add, once again, we've got to add
3 workers. Now, because this is the second one we've done, it's not just 3 workers, but it's also $2.
Okay.
We can't quite do that yet. So what I will do is I will add 2 workers to bump the funding up to, okay? So now we have enough money. So if you want to put your 3 workers on there.
All right, we can do that.
And we will put a training pen or an exercise area in here. Okay, but then we have to pay, so it's going to go down
back down again.
So we are kind of running a little low on money. I have 2 workers left. So what I think, would you think we should exercise Spuddy?
We could do. Well, I can use my action, right? How do I do that, or how do I execute that? I mean, you could use yours as well. I didn't know if there's something more better we should do to get that.
We could bring another animal in.
All right, will that affect our funding or food on there, having an animal there?
No, that's just a static number. So
Okay.
at the end of each round, it doesn't really matter how many animals you have.
All right, well, we could bring one of those in there if you want to.
Okay.
We can do that.
So who's kind of easy to take care of?
We've got
Lincoln, maybe? No, he's got big numbers.
same vet, but only one to train on Big Mig there. So we're looking at vet is 3 and vet is 4, but 3 for training and only 1 for training for Big Mig. And with my power, that makes him a little bit easier to get out if we need it, my action, if we want to do Big Mig. So
but that would be a better.
Also to pull it down from there as well.
Right,
So,
right.
Okay, we can do that. We'll do that.
Okay.
We'll do that. We'll pull Roscoe in.
So we'll put Roscoe in, and we've only put 1 on him. So we still need to bump his up 2. Why don't I just go ahead and do that, and then we can take care of that.
So he's done that. Takes care of all of those for that round there. So.
Yep. Okay.
All right. So
we are done with our round.
Okay.
So now we have to move the round number up 1, the funding and the daily care down. Still haven't done any placements. We need to
add 1.
Add 1. There's Harper.
All right. And then we need an event, correct?
Correct.
All right. So an event. Local students have made a generous donation, increased the daily care track by 1.
That was very nice of
So
them.
there we go. So we got some food. So
we got some food.
There we go.
Okay. So we're going to take all our workers back, and we're moving into an odd numbered round, so I don't get this gray guy anymore. All righty. So we do need to think about funding is very low. But we also, if we want any other kinds of animals, we don't have to, but if we want any other types of animals, we might want another kennel.
Well, here's one thing that we could as well, if we think about the kennel. Now, for money, we use the meeples to get some money, correct?
Yes.
So if we felt like it, here's just throwing this out there, can we get more money by putting more meeples, the number of people versus that? So if we were to sit there and say, okay, I'm playing this out in my head, because once again, now that we have a training area and I have my power, we could actually put Spud in a home using my power and using meeples to get funding, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean that's something that we could successfully house an animal without needing another kennel space right now, and be able to get some more money to help the shelter. So, if you think that would be a wise thought, so.
Sure. I'll go ahead and do all 3 of my meeples.
So we can bump our money
upside down, and we'll bump our money up so that we're not running out of business
too
fast.
And then
what do you want to do?
Well, let's see. We can. So if we use 2 of these, we can vet up Roscoe here. Is that right?
Roscoe, we need 3
Okay.
to vet him, but we could get started on that. You can just go ahead and put 1 meeple down, and that will take care of all of those.
All of his training?
For all of his training. Or you can do the 1 with Spud, and we can go ahead and place him.
Well, I'm just saying, I thought, 2 equals 1 vet, right? So if I put 2 meeples down there, that's 1.
1 meeple equals 1 vet.
Okay. So, and can you only put 2, or can you put all 3 on there for that?
You can. There's only room for 2 of them.
Only room for 2. So here's a thought then. We could, with what we've got right now, and I have 3 meeples, and this is the space we have, we could vet 2 for Roscoe, and then use my remaining meeple for money?
Well, what we could do is, so you can put 1 meeple down, that would take care of Roscoe's entire exercising.
Okay.
We could put 1 meeple down, that would take care of Spud's entire exercising. And then we could see if we could place Spud in a home, because we've finished with him. And that could be your last meeple. To place him in a home, we need to.
Okay,
So
you have to put something.
homes?
All right, so let's. So you may go ahead and put those down for.
Okay. So that.
So 1 and 1.
1 and 1. Well, no, that's 3 and 1.
3 and 1.
Oops.
Oop.
You're probably going to be finding dice all over the place. we don't have to do those things in order. And then there's one. Okay, so Spuddy is now ready to go. So if we want to look at these houses, I need to put my glasses on because they're, okay. Adoptive home wants a larger dog to exercise with. They have adult kids. This adoptive home wants a medium-sized dog without behavior problems. They don't have any kids. A large mansion in the country looking for a hunting dog. Has a cat who does not like other cats, wants a larger dog. So Spuddy, on his little information, he is a husky mix. So he's going to be fairly big. He's actually about 75 pounds at the moment.
And then Roscoe is a, let's see, this is a pit bull mix. So with that medium size, is that what we say, or is a pit bull would be large dog, depending on?
Yeah, probably medium.
Medium, okay.
And one of the things that I want the players to do is to kind of talk about these things, but to encourage interaction between the players, so that you have to kind of talk about if it's a medium dog or whether a husky would be good in the country, or those kinds of things.
Well, in this case, okay, so we're looking at Spud because Spud's ready to go at this point. So and on there it needs bottle feeding, medicals to do, shots, worming, and it's fixed.
Yes. So I would say this one wants a larger dog. This one wants a dog to exercise with. That one's looking for a hunting dog. I would say one of these two.
One of those two
might be one that Spud could go into.
All right. So how do we do? So do we have to pay anything?
So
what
put
is
one of your workers on the admin hex.
All right,
there you go. Okay. So now we can take Spud, and we can dump his dice off.
All right.
We flip him over to Happy Spuddy.
Happy Spuddy.
And we'll just put him on this one.
And he has a home.
There
we go.
And then we move that
so
one
we've moved one over. So now we've got one. So.
Yep. Okay. So we've housed our first animal. We've done good. We are at the end of the round now. So we're going to move the counter up to 4. Move this down 1. That down 1. Oops, we're getting a little low on food.
Getting low on the food there. So
okay. And then we're going to take our meeples back. And we are going to.
And you get an extra meeple this time. So
I do, and you get to turn over an event card.
An event card. So let's see
We've
what
had
our
good
event
ones.
card
We're
is.
probably going to get a really hard
So
one in a minute.
a local church group made a contribution of pet food, increased the daily care track by 1. So we're
getting
to
a lot
move.
Of nice people
That got these food donations. So, but you see that a lot though in the real world. That food donations are probably one of the easier ways to help out a shelter. So,
absolutely. Okay, so we didn't take any more animals.
All right.
But I can put another home down here. So this one is a large house, wants playful, active cat, has 2 dogs.
All right.
All right, so we probably, since we're kind of getting up here a little bit, we might want to go ahead and bring another animal in. So Harper is pretty easy. She's just got 1 of everything. Do you think we should go ahead and take her in?
Let's go ahead with Harper and let's move Harper.
Intake, sorry.
Intake. Oops, slide off. Harper's going to make a way to the.
And then we will put that so we can keep track of where we are with her. Okay. So you can do all the exercise for someone. We don't really need that right now. Do you want? We could build another kennel. We could add some food.
We definitely need. I think we need some food.
Okay.
I would say.
Safer?
Yeah, I think because we're 1 round away from being game end for food, and we've gotten lucky. We've had the benefit of people donating. They've not been for that. So I'm gonna. Do we want to put 2 down for food to go move up?
If you put 2 down, we can move the funding up 1 and the daily care up 1,
Okay.
or we could move the food up 2. However.
How about we do
2 for daily care?
Let's do 2 for daily care, and let's be ahead in our food just in case there.
Very good.
We'll go with that.
Okay, so just because we know we have a house that needs a cat, we might want to go ahead and build another kennel.
You go for kennel for cats. Let's go for kennel for cats.
Oops, that's not a kennel. Kennel for cats. All right, there we go.
All
okay,
right.
Do you want to bring in, we've got Cobalt is a cat. We could bring in Big Mig or Lincoln.
So we need 3 for Cobalt?
Yes.
So we're down to 1 on this round right here.
Right, but we could at least get him started.
Okay. So we want to do.
We could have just another thing of dogs.
Well, we need cats. So we've got dogs. So I think we're 1 step closer. So how about we go for the cat? So
this is a dog. This is a dog. This is a dog. This is a cat.
Yeah, that one wants a cat. So
yes.
we at least have one who wants a cat. So
okay.
Although it does say it's very timid. And it says that wants
a playful
active cat.
So probably Cobalt would not be good.
So how about then we'll stick with dogs for this point.
Okay.
How about we go with Big Mig? You want to do that one? So we'll do Big Mig and then put that on the intake right there.
We'll put that there.
There we go.
All righty. Okay. So end of the round.
All right. So we'll go for events, and this event is a kitten has brought a respiratory infection to the shelter. 1 worker per cat in the intake area is required on the vet hex to clear it up.
Okay, we have no cats, so
we don't have to worry about that. So okay, so we've gotten lucky so far. So there's our event.
So far, and I have just realized that I have forgotten one of the things. That we were supposed to be doing at the end of the round.
What are we supposed to be doing?
These black counters. We put them on the stray animals.
Okay.
And we need to make sure that they get adopted before they get their 3rd one.
Okay. All right. We did miss that.
Or else they disappear, and we'll forget about that right now.
All right. We won't worry about that at this point. We'll be happy on this game.
We will be happy on this game, right? Okay.
All right. So now we're
you've
clear?
done the event. Wait a minute.
Oh, we've got 2.
I moved the round marker up. I think I did. And then we're going to move that one down, that one down. Okay.
All right. And then we need 2 animal cards.
Yes.
All right. So we've got 2 cats just showed up there. So
oh dear.
It's a possible eye infection and fearful, possibly neglected for the cats that we've just brought in.
You're yellow.
I'm yellow. All right. Oh, and we do these per round, right? So we could try. I should have been able to train somebody if we wanted to.
Yes.
So we could. How about we train Harper using my power? So let's train Harper real quick. So we've got 1 on that. So
okay. So I am going to go ahead and do the vet on Harper so that she is now finished. Okay, and she is female lab mix, approximately 3 months, playful and outgoing, medical, she's got all of her shots and everything. Okay, oops.
It's okay.
Moving stuff around. Okay.
So we're talking a big dog that might want to run around out in the country, I would think.
Yeah, looking for a hunting dog or 1, 2, let's see. Wants a medium-sized dog, large mansion. I think country dog.
How's that? A lab sounds like it's a perfect opportunity for a large country. So.
Okay, so I'm going to do that. We're going to move that up to 2. And we will put Harper. Here's Harper when she was just a baby. And then Happy Harper.
Happy Harper.
This is another one of ours.
That's one of yours as well?
Yep.
How many dogs do you have?
We have 3 dogs at the moment and a cat. They are all adopted. We have a big crew.
Well, it sounds about like that.
So
we got 2 dogs and 2 cats in the.
Oh, well, you're nice and even.
Yes.
All right. So I have 1 more meeple.
All right.
Do you want to bring a cat in?
I say we do that. So we're going to look at. We've got the cats here. We've got possible eye infection, fearful, possibly. So with the cat we're looking for, they're looking for a playful cat. So this one doesn't say anything about fearful. It just says possible eye infection. So.
Okay, so that just means she's probably a little sick, so that's okay. I'll bring her in.
All right.
And we'll put her down there. And there we go.
All right. And so we need money.
Yes.
Because we're getting in trouble. So how about we bump up 2 meeples for money? You want to do that? We'll do 2 meeples for money there, so we can get that up, and then we can worry about some vet and stuff later if we want to do some food. Do you want to do some food so we're even on food and money, or should we worry about something else?
We're getting kind of close to our round, so we might want to start on the vet for one of them.
So we'll do a vet. How about we do a vet on Layla there? So.
Okay, so that's 1, and then. Do you want to exercise?
I can go. I will exercise my right to exercise.
Why don't we do that for Layla?
For Layla, that puts her 1 step closer to finding a home.
Right. Okay.
All right. So now let's take a look at our event, And it's flu season.
Oh, no.
Lots of staff are out sick. All players have one less worker this round.
That's not nice.
So
who made this game?
I know, someone's mean. So let's bring
so
our workers
we're
back.
not playing with the stray markers on here, so that's sort of giving us a little more time with some of those animals.
Yes.
I will not take my extra one that I normally
All
have.
right, and then we
This is
need to
round
put
6.
Jeremy another there, and then you
Another cat.
slide down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So there and there. All right.
And we've gotten 2 animals taken care of. Okay.
All right. So, all right. Everything's good. We trained. We've got all that. So, all right. So now at this point, we probably need to start working on getting some of our adoptable animals
Yes.
out, I would think. So we need one more for Layla to make her
Yes.
adoptable. So let's do that. And then, because we've got a family that's looking for a cat.
Okay, and then I'll put one on here to adopt her. Oops.
And then, oh, we didn't put a new home down
Oh, we
last
didn't.
turn.
Maybe that will be a good home. Looking for another pet, anything. 3 kids, has a medium-sized dog.
Okay.
Okay, so wait, wants a playful, active cat. So here's
There
this
we
one.
go.
We'll turn
Cat.
this one over. I like
Happy
her.
cat, lazy cat. There you go. That's a
Lounging.
good lounging cat right
Lounging
there.
cat.
So there we go.
Yay.
All right, so that's 3 adoptions. So we've got to get to 8, right? So we're gonna
No,
do that.
we've got to get to, we've got to get to 8.
8. So all right, so
I'm
we've
not
got
sure
a few
we're going to
more.
do that in.
So well, we'll see what we can do here. So I've got 3 here. We need some food because we're going to run.
Well,
I've
I
only
can, here, I'll,
Yeah, because you've already, okay, it's right. You didn't get your extra person that time. So I only have 2 to work with this time. So where do we put these 2?
but you also can do your exercising.
I can do my exercising.
You wanna do that?
Exercise, let's go ahead and exercise. Let's exercise Big Mig.
Miggy.
So I can do that. And then these 2 that we can do here, do we want to, I guess we want to apply 1 to a vet and 1 to food or money, since we can only do 1 vet
Or we
on this
could
one.
intake another animal if you want.
Or we could do that too. We
How
could do
about
Jeremy is 1. So
Well, hang on. We need another. They
any,
just want
they
a
want
pet.
anything. So
They want a dog. They want a larger dog.
yes. So
And
when
Roscoe might be a good, or Miggy.
but we can do a cat, and that gives it the opportunity for a cat there, or any pet right there if we wanted to do that. So and this one, Jeremy looks like a fairly easy one to try to get out of there. So let's do that. Let's intake Jeremy. And then for the last one, we want to do food or money for that one. So, or do we want to vet it?
Oops.
Because I could put mine down for a vet, and that puts that 1 step closer to an adoption on
Well,
that
why
one.
don't we start on the vet with those guys? 'Cause
Okay.
They're going to kind of.
All right, so let's do that. Let's go with. How about we go with Big Mig, and let's vet the Big Mig there. So. And have I trained on this turn yet? So
Yes.
okay, we did train on that one. So
Okay.
all right, so there we go.
So that's the round marker up 1. These 2 down 1. We still just have 3. We need to replenish the cards.
All right, and then let's do Fluffers. We have another cat. I like the name. I like
Lots of cats.
Needs to be with other cats. So,
Okay, so this one has a cat who does not like other cats.
Okay.
Looking for another pet. Small walk-up grad student looking for a friendly cat.
All right, this needs to be with other cats. So we'll have an issue with that. So we'll worry about that. So we've got to
Event.
Let's do our event. Our event is a local youth group came by to help exercise dogs and play with cats at the shelter. Add 1 pet progress token to all cats and dogs in the intake.
So the only one we can really do that to is Jeremy because he didn't have anything. Everybody else is taken care of.
Taken care of. So, all right. So there we go. We've got all of this. So now
and
next
recycling
round.
here with some
So-
of the
So Jeremy just needs 1 exercise and 1 vet. Roscoe needs 3 vet. Big Mig needs 3 vet. You know, a lot of vet that we need for these animals. We could take in another animal.
Thing is, we've got 3 rounds.
I
and then
would
we've got-
probably take care of Jeremy. He's
Yes,
kind of the
that's
closest.
how we go to. He could go with my power and 1 vet if we wanted to. So with that, and then we could worry about.
Oh, that's right. So okay,
yes.
you can do your power.
My power puts it to 2, and then we do 1 vet. He's adoptable.
I'll do both of mine on vet, and then we'll put MIG up to 2. And then we got 1. Okay, do you want to put 1 on intake, and then we will put him on?
Yes, we'll do that. The any home.
The any, well, do you want the any, or do you want the small walk up with the grad student?
I think that a grad student needs a nice cat. How about that?
I think
we
so
do that,
too.
so we can definitely do that.
Oops. Here.
Oh, it's a cute one there. The gallery of adopted pets there, as we can see.
They look
So it's
very
like,
nice and
all right.
friendly and happy.
So now,
I still have 1 meeple left.
and I have 2 left. So we've got, we cannot vet, and we don't need, so there's not really much we can do vet without vet. We could build another vet facility if we wanted to, but
we could, but
I don't think that's going to benefit us in our current situation.
no.
So, but
Why
needing
don't we, do you want
food,
to bring in fluffers maybe?
we can bring in fluffers. We also will need some food and some money.
By the next round.
By the next round,
very
at least, so.
Let's go ahead and bring
fluffers
fluffers
in. We got fluffers in. And we can go, I've got 2 here. If we don't want to worry about food and money at this point, I can train 1.
Have one already used your power?
No, I mean, I can train, I have two
Oh.
left. We can go ahead and train fluffers up if we wanted to, or if we can use it for money or food, either way.
Let's train fluffers.
Both of them for
Yeah.
training? All right. So fluffers is trained up.
I have a trained cat.
A trained cat. It's tough to do, but it's there. We've done it. So
let's replace the cards. Oh, Amos.
all right. Amos there, and we've got another home, and that's looking
This one's for rescue organization worker looking for police dog candidate.
All right.
Miggy might be good for that. Okay, we're in our final round actually now.
Well, so this is round 9.
We're round 8 now. We only
Okay.
have 8 rounds if we're. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
Okay. It was
have
8
2
shelters, but we have 2 more,
8
right?
animals,
All right,
yes.
and then event. See what our event is.
Hope it's not something horrendous.
It's payday. Staff needs their checks.
Oh, no.
Decrease the funding track by 1. Uh-oh.
Oh no! Did we end?
We just ended the game before
before
adopting
we
out
could
all of our
pay
dogs.
people.
This is unfortunate, but this may be the first time we've actually ended a game while we were
This
in
is
true.
true.
the camera. So
That's true.
Sadly, we've got some that weren't picked up and we didn't adopt, but is is the case for some shelters across the country, and so that's part of the reason why you're helping fund some of these shelters through
Absolutely.
this game. So, but now that we've sadly have not adopted out all of our dogs
We have
because
failed, Aaron. We failed.
I went into broadcasting, not animal shelter management. So, but let's talk about this game,
Okay.
and let's talk about developing a game, because once again we played this game because of the game development
Right.
minor that was developed, that was once again birthed out of this history through games and your desire to do more with these games. So talk about the process. You tell us, how did this come about? Where did you come up with the idea? How was the execution? Just let us know what's going on.
So generally, I teach game design and to Boy Scouts, ages like 8 to 15, and here on campus at Troy too. And what I normally tell them is when they're starting off to design a game that they know something about. Or that they care about. And so this is something that I really enjoy. And it's something that I know something about from being a volunteer. So one of the things that I was thinking about as I made this game was sort of how to, we talk a lot about in game design about how to make the mechanics fit the message. In other words, you have something that you want people to learn through a game, even if it's sort of fun. And it's particularly though with like games about history or games about something real. So you want what the players are doing to have some kind of meaning. So for me, this had to be a cooperative game because the people at the shelter are always having to cooperate and work together to help these animals out. And it really is very much a team venture between the staff and the volunteers. So that was kind of where
And in that kind of game, everybody wins or everybody loses.
Yeah.
And it's the same situation that we've discovered here. We've sadly, we've got animals that did not get adopted.
That's
so,
right.
You know, and had we, it'd been even sadder if we had had the markers on the dogs.
Right, the stray markers.
The stray markers. So, but talking about that, what the mechanics?
Right.
How did you talked about you want to be a cooperative game, but
Right.
then once you get into that and you know the type of game, what goes through your head about how am I going to put all this together? How will the rules integrate into this? How can I make this kind of game fit my idea, my concept?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. So one of the things that we do is we play a lot of games. You know, it's like in history where to learn how to write, you have to read. When you are doing games, you have to play a lot of games to learn how to build them. So you take inspiration and you take mechanics from games that you like and games that you feel would work. So for me, this one's coming a lot from two games actually that we've played, Pandemic and Manhattan Project. So I like both of those games and I really enjoy the worker placement stuff and I enjoy the cooperative part of Pandemic. So I'm kind of drawing from other games that I've played, and that's something that's very common in game design. You're sort of building on what people have been doing previously. So once you get kind of a general idea for what you're going to be doing, we really stress that very, very early on it needs to be play tested. So beginning last semester, and even a little earlier, I've been having people play it. The class played it, I got feedback from them, I have some outside people who have been playing it, and I'm going to be doing more of that coming up. But what you begin to see is, oh, this works and this doesn't. And you need to add some more of this, or this isn't very balanced, or we lose in 5 seconds, or we're going to win in,
Yeah.
So you kind of try to figure out from feedback from the players about what's going on and think about how to fix it. So that's really the most important part probably of designing a game.
What's an example of something
testing.
like that? Like when you're play testing, what's something that may have changed on this game because of play testing?
So one of the things that I'm still working with and that we kind of ran into is, you know, when you have different numbers of players, there are different resources available. And so we didn't have a whole lot available where if we had 3 or 4 players, we would have had a whole bunch of special skills. So I'm still trying to kind of play with how many placements do we want? You know, what is a good number for 2 players to have? You know, I've had people get up to 6. No one's gotten up to 8 yet. So maybe that's a little too high. So maybe I want to bump that back. One of the things too we realized was that if you just start off with just the 2 hexes and don't have any of these guys to start with, that really makes it a lot slower.
It drains your resources immediately.
Really fast.
So yeah.
And, you know, so there are lots of different kinds of little bits and pieces that you kind of have to think about balancing. One of the things, too, that's really important for me as a game designer is to involve people's emotions, to get them engaged with the game. So it's been very important to me to have the pictures of the animals sort of before and after. Because for me, when you flip over that card and you see the happy animal, that's sort of a nice
Well, this one right here in front of us is a perfect example. I don't know how close we can see, but this Lincoln, the dog is emaciated, and it makes me want to cry just by looking at it. It's like
and
Sarah
Amos
McLachlan should be playing in the background as I'm looking at this dog.
Amos has no hair.
Oh, and see, but then your descriptors as well, and you know, going into it, but that you immediately. Because you walk into a shelter and you see that, you're like, this is something that needs help. And that's, once again, the emotion behind this is making sure that folks know this is going on. And it's educational in a lot of ways because they're seeing this sort of thing as they're playing the game.
You know, the sort of different side to that is, you know, if kids are going to be playing it, you want to be a little careful. You don't want, you know, something that looks so horrible. But, you know, if you flip this guy over and, you know, I mean.
That's a cutie right there. You can see right there, went from the emaciated dog to he wants to play fetch right now. I can see that right now. But that element of it is something though that brings more people into it. And once we talk about the educational nature of this and the adoptable nature of this, and to me, it's one of those elements that once again you said makes you feel a little bit more. Think about what you're doing when you're playing the game. So the real world consequences of what you could do in this play game. You know, we couldn't save the world from a pandemic and blew it up with other games. So this is one of those things where, you know, sadly that one always burns me is we didn't save the world. But,
I know.
But this one is one where you can do one little part. And not to mention we talk about education about what happens to the dogs, and we've mentioned this before, but that you're raising awareness of shelter needs.
Yes.
And that's one of those things in a game, someone sits down for a casual game, it may open their eyes to what's needed in their communities.
Well, and I think too, one of the things that I hope people sort of realize is the really hard work that the volunteers and the staff do, because, you know, without all those people, you know, none of that is possible, and it's just.
Well, we lost because we had to pay the workers.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of those things you always forget. You got to pay
dang
people.
workers.
Got to pay people to do something. So, but one of the cool things about this, and this is a game development thing I noticed right away, and folks at home may have seen, in that you're developing it, and that is the recyclable elements of this. Anybody can kind of see these cards. You can kind of peek through. You can see a king and a two
Right,
of
these are
spades.
real.
These are playing cards that you have repurposed
Right,
to put in here, but that's one of the things in game development. A lot of times you don't have a factory to put together the boards and stuff for your prototype, so you've got to work with what you got.
And you don't want to do that at first either, because you know you may change things. Like I may have decided, oh, you know, and in fact, I'm going to decide that the things need to be different sizes, or they might need to be moved around, or maybe Lincoln needs to have a 3 here instead of a 4. So you want some, I mean, this is basically, this one is probably like a second or a third stage prototype. Like normally we start off where we just have stuff that's drawn on, you know, just like index cards that are drawn on. So that would be the first stage, and then once you've gone through a little bit of testing, you're going to bump it up to something that looks a little nicer. I took this to Gen Con, so that's one of the reasons. I didn't have a board, and the board was something actually when I was playing with my son, when I was playing with Aiden, the board came up because Aiden was getting like, well, I don't know how many kennels we have, and where do we put these animals? And so we were kind of getting a little more. We wanted a little more structure to where things could go.
And it makes sense. I mean, and once again, that's one of the things you talk about. Player tested. It's one of those elements that I think that demonstrates to a player numbers and how well things work, and also not to mention we're talking about that you're using die, you know, like various dice here that are indicating, you know, a bag of dice, and you're using those as elements and markers for the game. So all of this is just interesting to me.
The first time we were, well, the first prototype, they were buttons.
Okay.
And so you had to put stacks of buttons, except the buttons were getting too many and they were kind of falling over, and we couldn't keep track of them really easily. So the dice was a neat addition because it's sort of quick, you know, and one little thing, and it's quick to turn over.
And just flip it over. And you know, and if anybody's ever played any game, they know the importance that dice play in pretty much any game that you play on a tabletop. You know, these are just simple 6-sided dice. You could have gone and thrown some like 20-sided die or something in there, and
would have taken us the whole game to get one animal.
Yeah, that probably would have happened for us. But let's talk about that. You talked about the convention, and let's mention that, because this is something you've put together, and it's kind of a proof of product of what's going on in the program here. But you've gotten out there and you've gotten some recognition for this game as well. So it's just time to brag a little bit on yourself here. So you know.
So I entered it into a contest this past spring, and it was you know, I was just wanting to enter it into this contest because they give a lot of feedback. And they have a lot of people who are judging who, you know, will just sort of give some generalized feedback about what they think about the game and what needs to be changed and stuff. So I was thinking it would be a good experience. And I had my students do it last spring as well. So we all 3 entered our games together. And this one, there were about 110, 105 games that were entered total in the contest. And this one ended up being 9th out of all of those. So I was really proud of how it did, but more important, I just got some really good feedback about, you know, the game and what it was doing, and that people were feeling real positive about it. So,
and we talked about this in the past on the shows, but it seemed that, you know, for, you know, decades, the game landscape was pretty much the same. You know, you had the same games out there, but then within the last decade or so, you've seen all of this creativity in new tabletop games and new types of games. Like some of the games we played were things that when I was growing up, that type of game didn't exist.
No, absolutely not.
And so it seems like it's an interesting time to be creative and be wanting to make these games.
It is, you know, and it's a really neat kind of process. I think too, you know, not only is it a neat time because there's all this creativity out there, that can be good and bad. You've got a lot of games out there, and the market is just, exploding. So in a way, it is good that there's a lot of new examples, and it's a very creative field, but it's a pretty competitive big field too at the moment. So
but it gives an opportunity though to express yourself through these games.
Yeah.
And the students that are coming through the program, and you've already had some students who, once again, were in the convention with you in the spring, but are you seeing the students, matching the desire that you wanted to go into the program? Like they're coming through the program and coming up with these new and creative ideas for games.
Absolutely. We just finished, this was the first time that I offered a history of game design. So the history through games is where we look at games and we sort of compare them to historical themes. With this one, we were actually looking at how games have developed over time. So we were starting with the ancient Egyptians, and we so it was this very long sort of view of games and what they were like. That was the most amazing class. I had so many really bright kids who were helping each other with their game projects. They had some proposals to do, who came up with some really neat feedback for each other and were very supportive of each other. To me, the thing about game design, and I've said this before, but to me what's really important about it is not only is it creative, but the students are working on problem-solving skills. They're working on understanding that failure is not the end of the world. If this game messes up, that's okay. I just need to fix it. So they work more on problem-solving and creative thinking skills than, oh my God, I got an 85 and I needed an 87. So it's much more of a creative, problem-solving, iterative kind of process that is helpful for them in the real world. So in other words, if they have a project where they're working and something is wrong, they just know that they have to fix it then, and it's not the end of the world. So to me, that is what is the most valuable about it. But yes, I'm absolutely seeing, all of them really, really develop.
Now let's get back to this real quick. Where does this game go from here? Where do you take it from here?
So I'm going to be doing some more play testing with it to kind of iron out some of these bits and pieces. But probably early next year, we will be getting the artwork ready, and sending it to a site called Game Crafter, which is sort of, you send the artwork in and they send you back the game, basically. And from there, we will start probably a GoFundMe campaign because it's going to be, we can't do Kickstarter because it's going to be a charity game. Yeah. But we'll do a GoFundMe campaign to see if we can fund the game and get it produced and sold.
Yeah, so and that's how the process would work at this point. So and then you would have a mass-produced product that you can put out there. And then let's talk about once again the fundraising aspect of this, because as you mentioned there, that does change some things because it is a fundraising game.
Yeah.
And we've got here, and I'll put it right here just so that we can see it as well. But this card is in there, and two of the elements, as we mentioned, is that it is going to, proceeds will go to shelters, but you're also looking for the stories.
Yes,
and once again, that's part of, in raising money and selling these games and getting people involved, is hearing those stories and seeing those stories.
Yeah, and to me that's what's really important, is that people get to share those stories and show how meaningful this process of adopting animals is. So it's just a really neat way to share the stories of your furry friends, furry family members.
And we saw 3 of yours in this game?
I don't know exactly how many.
So Big Mig was in there.
Harper, Spud. I think we have Kaylee and we have Cisco, who are also part
somewhere
of
in there. A lot of furry family members involved in this. But that, once again, that folks, if they want to, they can visit the site.
Please.
They can add those, and I assume that you want pictures as well. So the whole thing to add that into it.
We're asking for basically a sort of before picture and an after picture, and information about the adoption and what the animal is like, and we're going to put all of that into a little booklet with the rules to show all the real stories. And
and one other thing you talk about, this is how will or this may be early, to the distribution of funds. So are there particular shelters you're going to go to? Has that been thought out yet, of where it's going to go? Or
I have not yet. I mean, certainly, I would want to keep it at least I'd benefit the Montgomery and the Troy
yeah.
shelters just because I'm closest to them. But we'd have to sort of think about where.
And not to mention, if this game, let's say it blows up and it
Right.
becomes a huge, massive, worldwide phenomenon, and we can say, "I knew you back when," that seems like it. Once again, the more you sell, the more you're involved with,
Yes.
the better things
Absolutely.
go for you. So, and once again, as this entire program has been, we played this game. Normally it's history through games. We're talking about the historical aspects of it, but this time we've dealt with game development and a game that was developed by you, as we're seeing here. Adopt Me, an opportunity to see the executed version of game development out there. So, and what does that mean for your students that are in the program to see something like this and see the fact that you have pulled this off?
Yeah, I think that's important for them. I think the Boy Scouts, when I do classes with them, are really excited to see when we show them face to face, which is the game that we've produced and is actually on the market right now. But for them to be able to see the process of, and then that it's very accessible. Here we can do this and this and this, and you can make your game. I think that's very important for them to be able to see that, and it's an important experience for me so that I can help them with the process. Writing a history book, I've done that, so I know how to help students with writing better. But this was something that I felt was very important, and it's been a neat little game to work
to be able to put together. And not to mention, you talk about the play testing, the elements, the prototyping, and all of those elements, including, I'm figuring marketing starts playing into there, and some things of that sort through this game development design. So all of these elements get put into place and a real world practical experience for them to be able to pull this off. And not to mention, be able to play a game that has been developed by somebody that they know.
Sure.
And like as we're playing this, I often joked around about that you're the expert on it, where I'm looking for, advice on strategy on this, but you're the one that developed the game, so you have a better idea of what it is. So when a student, let's say they're playing this game with you, or you're talking about this game, they can go directly to the source and be able to say, hey, what were you thinking when you did fill in the blank?
Sure. So I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. What did you think?
I think this is a fun game. I think it's an amazing game, and it does incorporate all the elements of some of the games that we've done before, the cooperative games, and you've opened my eyes to a different type of game.
So you're starting to see some of the comparisons.
Oh yeah, the comparisons to a lot of these games. I really do. It almost immediately, the worker games, putting it in there, and it was one of especially for us, it got to that point, and when we've run into some of the games we played before, the unexpected happens.
Yes.
We roll, we move one space and the whole world dies.
Yes.
In this case, we thought we even had the conversation
right.
that, we've got another round, we've got another turn,
right, but no.
And then an event happened that shut down the shelter before we even had a chance to go through it. But I think this is a fun game, and not to mention, I have once again, I have had 3 adoptions. I've adopted animals. I've volunteered with shelter efforts, so I know what it takes for shelters to do what they've got to do. And this is all this, works into that. And not to mention, it's something that hopefully will give some funds to some folks. And not to mention, in this game, it's someone sitting around playing it, and you've got to say, you've bought a copy of it, and some friends are playing around one night, and you're all sitting around, and someone who doesn't know what's going on in a shelter is playing it. You've opened up some new eyes. So, that's another element. I may know what a shelter needs, and I buy the game, but then if my buddies are playing the game with me, once again, they've learned something, and it helps out.
Right.
And the game, it flowed well. It was easy to play. So I had a blast playing this game. And even though we couldn't adopt all of the animals, Scout, I enjoyed playing your game. We were in the process. We were there, but I enjoyed playing your game and having you here to show us about how the game development and design minor works in execution. And next time we'll go back to playing some history-based games. But for now, I enjoyed playing this game with you, and thanks for bringing it on here today. So
thank you for having me.
And thank you for enjoying this episode of History Through Games, where we played a development game. Thanks for joining us.